This is a HeadGum podcast.
Hello and welcome to The Complete Guide to Everything, a podcast about everything. I'm one of your hosts, Tom.
And I'm Tim.
Tim, how are you doing this week?
I'm very tired, but
you're going to do a great job?
I'm going to do a great job on this podcast.
All right. That's the spirit.
Yeah. Even despite the fact that I'm tired, I'm a champ.
You'll sleep when you're dead.
Yeah. And I'll die pretty soon, I think, at this rate. I'm very tired. My son is sick and not sleeping very much at night. And then when a baby doesn't sleep, you're not supposed to sleep either. It's considered poor form. It's impolite if a baby is screaming and crying for you to just say, like, well, that sucks for him, and then you have to go to sleep. You get to go to sleep.
Well, I think you probably, it's probably pretty hard to fall asleep if your baby's sick and crying. That's why I've been telling you, Tim, you should get that kid vaccinated. You should get him all the vaccines.
I mean, I'm doing some research. I'll figure it out.
Tim, you're not doing your own research fast enough. You should.
Research takes time, Tom. There's a lot of websites out there. There's a lot of YouTube videos.
Research takes time. It's very hard. I have this baby screaming all the time. It's very hard to concentrate on my research.
How are you doing this week, Tommy?
I'm good, Tim. I'm well rested. We just got back, as alluded to last week. We went away for your birthday. You insisted that it was your birthday and everybody had to make a big deal about it.
Yeah, and we all did, and there was a bunch of us, and we went to a different state. That's a little teaser for people trying to guess what the topic is this week.
Right, there's people that don't look at the title and just try and guess.
Yeah, that's how. Just for new listeners, that's how we recommend you listen. Don't look at the title.
Yeah.
And try to guess what the episode's about.
You know,
some weeks you might not figure it out.
Some weeks we don't even know.
Yeah.
My girlfriend last night got ice cream at the store.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a nice, delicious treat to have. And she bought a mystery flavor ice cream.
Was it considerably cheaper?
No, and that's why I found that like very ballsy. It's like, look, I'm all for like a mystery little Charms lollipop.
Yeah.
You know, at the doctor's office, the one with the question mark, and it's like, what flavor is this? Sure, I'm game. I'll try it. What's the worst that could happen? But a whole carton of ice cream.
What is the worst that can happen? Grape?
Yeah, which is still delicious, which is great. I don't know. Is that mystery flavor? Is it a mystery flavor, or is it just they like take all the scraps, melt them back down again?
That was the rumor about the white Airheads flavor, right? Where it's just like they took all the scraps from all the things before the coloring, before the food coloring's put in, and then they just put it through the machine, and that's what you get. I don't know. That seems like giving Airheads a lot of...
Which is good, right? That's, it's avoiding waste.
Exactly, but like I don't want to have to pay the Airheads Corporation so they can... It's like when you go to like any kind of store, usually a big box store or like a chain pharmacy, and they're like, would you like to donate $1 to like this very good charity? And it's like, no, I don't want to like pay an extra $1 so like at the end of the year Walgreens Incorporated could say like we gave $500 million to charities and like get this big tax write-off because of it. It's like that.
And also probably claim it on their revenue before they take that money out. And
I don't want to take part in these dirty Wall Street dealings.
I don't have a problem with them taking the scraps and melting them down into a new flavor and selling that. That brings the price
but that should be free
of all the Airheads down. That's what they do with, I think it might be like the current Mac Pros. They're made out of like shavings from iPhones, like aluminum shavings. You think that should be free?
That's what they say. I mean, yeah, I think it should be cheaper, but that's what they say to be like, look, we're these aren't the worst things in the world for the environment.
Yeah.
So like we were like, oh, that's an admirable way. You shave down your phones to make a computer. Man, this seems like a closed system with zero waste, zero
And
mineral mining,
and presumably everything put into the phone is treated exactly the same way. But yeah, a secret ice cream flavor. It was not just a bunch of ice cream flavors mixed together. It was actually pretty good. And apparently if you just go, she went to the website and you can find out what it is, which is kind of a cop out, but
wait, so it wasn't like, hey, roll the dice and see, it might be cookies and cream, it might be mint chocolate chip. It's like this is a completely different flavor.
no, it was a flavor that they do not sell otherwise. Yeah.
What was it?
Blueberry pancakes.
I mean, just put that on the. I'd try.
Yeah, that's
that.
why I kind of have a little.
You know what
faith.
happened? This is what happened. They made a whole big batch of that stuff, and they packaged up the first like third of it. And we're like, blueberry pancake. Everybody will love it. And nobody bought the blueberry pancake. So they're like, oh, we got to think quick.
Yeah.
It's a mystery flavor, you see.
Yeah.
And then it adds some excitement to it.
We'll get the people that go to the supermarket looking for excitement. They'll snap this right up.
Yeah, supermarket thrill seekers.
Yeah. But I thought, like, it was very bold of her.
The only way I can feel alive is if I eat something that I don't know what it is.
It was very bold of her to try that because like we try not to get ice cream often nowadays because it's ice cream, it's bad for you. But this was like all right, we haven't gotten ice cream in weeks, like let's get some ice cream.
Tom, I saw both of you eating ice cream over the weekend. We were all spent together.
No, we didn't have any ice cream. That was just for the kids. We had cake.
Yeah, the kids.
No, I wanted ice cream, and then it was
but
like
you always say people say, "Oh, Tom, that's for kids," and then you get this little shit-eating grit on your face. You go, "I'm a child at heart," and just creeps everybody out.
No, it was like I saw the kids eating ice cream, and I was like, "Ooh, ice cream!" And then I realized only the kids were eating ice cream. So I was like, oh, it's for the kids. I'm not even going to ask. Because somebody's going to say like, oh, no, you can. Because everybody at this house is nice. Somebody's going to be like, oh, no, you can have some. And then the next night, some kid's going to be hysterical crying. And it's going to be, oh, Tom took the ice cream.
The big scary man.
And then I'll be drummed out of there.
You know that big man that you were already scared of? Well, he also ate all your ice cream.
He also ate your ice cream. But I just thought it was a very bold move because ice cream flavors, they can be all over the place. You know? You can have a more chocolate-forward ice cream, chocolate, peanut butter, caramel, butterscotch, that whole world. And then you've got all the really sweet, the birthday cake ice cream, the cotton candy ice cream.
Cotton candy ice cream?
Yeah, it's great. If you see it out there, Tim, do yourself a favor. But you have to be in a particular mood for it. And the mood you have to be in is you want a lot of sugar.
I mean, that's what you feel. That's what all ice cream is, though.
You need to be like, you know what? Ice cream isn't enough sugar. I need a very sugary ice cream. The
only thing, I kind of see where you're coming from there, but I think also you're making too much of a distinction between, like, if you're in the mood for ice cream, you should be in the mood for any ice cream. The one exception, maybe two exceptions for grown-ups, coffee and rum raisin.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, no.
Raisin? That shouldn't be around in the 21st century, right? I put raisins in ice cream and rum.
Yeah. I like both those, but you're right. You need to be in the mood for them.
Yeah. But, like, if it's like, oh, I wanted chocolate chip and I got chocolate chip cookie dough, same thing for me.
Yeah, but what if it's like you wanted chocolate chip, but you got strawberry instead?
Yeah, they should stop putting fruit in ice cream.
That's what makes it healthy, Tim. If they stop putting fruit in ice cream, then it's all going to be bad for you.
Yeah, how are you going to offset it and make it neutral?
But we all went to this house for your birthday. And you sat in a big chair, and everybody had to come up one at a time and
tickle me.
Well, that's what you wanted, But
Yeah.
everybody was like, no.
Everybody, one at a time, tickle my tum-tum.
You made us all tell you what our favorite thing about you was. And then if it wasn't good enough, you would make some people were up there for a solid hour or two because it wasn't
everything you said was
satisfactory.
mean, Tom. It was at best a backhanded compliment.
They were all meant to be things that that I want you to improve on.
Yeah, that's not the time and the place. I'm a perfect specimen. 40 years old. Nobody's looked better or younger than me ever.
No, it wasn't just that stuff. Like when I told you, I was like, the good thing about Tim is he doesn't concern himself with learning.
Right.
He does.
And like
he goes
one
by
could
his
say like,
gut.
oh, because he's already so smart, he doesn't. Yeah,
He goes by his
instincts
gut.
are so good.
He doesn't worry about learning about a topic before he decides to have a real strong
Doesn't
opinion
need
on
to.
it.
Street smarts. It's innate.
Yeah. But the house we were in, Tim, was also maybe haunted.
Everybody said that. It was just big.
Should we talk about that now or later? Should that be the tease for later?
I mean, not every Tom, here's the thing.
Ooh.
You think people are as into ghosts as you are, and all weekend at this house, you were just talking about ghosts and hauntings and stuff.
Yeah, and guess what? I wasn't the only one.
Who else?
I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to put people on blast on the podcast, but I wasn't the one who...
Yeah, they might get busted.
I wasn't the one who found out that the house was potentially haunted. In fact, I kept my experience to myself until other people were talking about everything because I didn't...
There was an experience. I tuned all that stuff out. Tom, haunted or not haunted, ghosts are a bore.
Oh,
Do something.
you're gonna
If
get
even
in trouble.
this house was haunted. Well, nothing happened to anything except my son got an ear infection.
Yeah, and
did the ghost do that?
that might have been a ghost. How do you know it wasn't? Maybe it was some like.
I think he probably got it from my niece who sneezed in his face 14 times in a row.
It could have, or it could have been like a dead Civil War or Revolutionary War soldier who died from some infection and is still a little bit contagious, even though he's a ghost.
That's fair. Civil War, a lot of fighting happened in Vermont.
No, that's why I changed it to Revolutionary War.
Oh, okay.
I know. I feel like I did find in my research maybe there was. Nah, I think it was the Revolutionary War. You know what, Tim? I'll get back to you on that. I'm going to do my own research.
Two really solid teases for the rest of the episode.
You're going to find out if there were any Civil War battles in Vermont and the ghost experiences. All that after the break. Well, Tim, as promised, I've done. We just took a 6-hour break so I could head down to the local library, do my own research, and it turns out there really weren't any Civil War battles. There was some land action, it's called, and some Confederate raiders robbed 3 banks up there.
In Vermont, in the state of Vermont.
In the state of Vermont. And then they escaped to Canada, and Canada decided not to extradite them back to the U.S. because Canada was being neutral.
Right. Bank robbery isn't war.
Well, Canada apparently thought it was. Canada was like, nope, they were under orders to go rob a bank. And now that's a war crime, not a regular crime, so they can stay in Canada. And then, of course, like a lot of soldiers from Vermont went and fought in the war.
Yeah, I understand Canada wanting to stay out of our mess in general.
Yeah,
I think that's something that
they continue to this day.
Yeah,
as much as possible.
But come on, take a side in the slavery against not slavery war, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of crazy considering...
But maybe not the bank robbery aspects of it. I think bank robbers, if you get away with it, you get away with it.
A lot of them do. A lot of bank robbers nowadays only get caught because they keep robbing banks.
Hubris.
Yeah. But it kind of makes sense. You rob a bank, you get away with it. That first time you're robbing a bank, it must be like the craziest feeling ever. The nervousness and the adrenaline. And then when you get away with it, and it's probably so easy, you're probably in your head imagining like, the cops are going to come. We might have to take hostages. There might be a shootout. And then when none of that happens and you just walk out of the bank with a bag full of money, it's got to be real hard not to be like, one more. I'll do one more.
I'm going to do this every day of my life. That was the easiest money I've ever earned.
Worst case scenario, I'll run to Canada. I heard they don't extradite bank robbers up there. I can say I was under military orders.
Tom, Vermont is a state in the New England region of the United States. It borders the states of Massachusetts to the south, New Hampshire to the east, and New York to the west, and the Canadian province of Quebec, or Quebec, to the north. Vermont is the only state in New England that does not border the Atlantic Ocean. Remember that, Tom. Because you were like, hey, let's hit the beach all weekend. And we're like,
it's like, let's go to the ocean. What are we doing here if we're not seeing that famous Vermont shoreline? I'm trying to look at it on a map, and I just Googled Vermont on a map. I guess I could have just looked at a map of the United States.
Right.
Map.
It's kind of like it's a complementary state to New Hampshire, right? The two of them almost make like a rectangle together.
Yeah, and they're both like very similar sized states. Oh, yeah, look at that.
It's the second least populated U.S. state and the second like battiest in a certain way, like in a
most
not
bats.
No, like battiest, like in a harmless way. Like everybody there's a little bit like ooh, like a little. You know,
yeah, it's
States,
a state full of weirdos.
Yeah, there's some states where you can go to, and they'll be like, "Hey, welcome to our state." Or if you move to that state,
we're mostly normal.
Yeah, like you move to that state, and they're like, "Oh, you live here now? That's cool." I feel like if you moved to Vermont, they'd be like, "What are you doing here? Are you one of us?" And then they'd be like, "What are you?"
Who sent you here?
Yeah, and they seem like
was it the Confederates?
They seem, yeah, lock up the banks. We don't know who this guy is. Close down the banks.
Close the Canadian border too.
They're like super opinionated, right? But also like I feel like they never want to like encounter anybody who is also opinionated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they have strong opinions, but they don't want to argue about them. They want to be left alone.
Yeah, and I respect that. I like Vermont. Tom, do you visit Vermont frequently?
No, Tim. In fact, this was the first time I had ever been to Vermont. I believe.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It has. You've never even been to Burlington?
The coat factory, of course, but not to the town.
Where do you think those coats come from, Tom?
The coat factory.
Yeah, where do you think that is?
They have locations all over the United States, Tim.
The strip mall, Tom.
Yeah. Tim, if that's not where they come from, then why are they calling it the Burlington Coat Factory?
Nobody knows.
But yeah, I'm looking at a map, and I'd never been to Vermont. I've never been to New Hampshire. I've never been to Maine.
Wow, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
And you claim to be...
And I claim to be the king of New England.
Yeah, Mr. New England.
Yeah, which honestly, now that I'm looking at a map, I might have overstated that.
Yeah, it seems like you haven't been to a lot of the places in New England. Yeah, it's a weird mix. I don't know. Is it Vermont? Yeah, they have that kind of like no billboard law, right? So like...
Yeah, no billboards.
You drive along... You don't see...
I was trying to get a nice big billboard that said, "Happy birthday, Tim."
I'm going to run you right out of the state, Tom.
Yeah, they were like, "What are you, nuts? Have you not read our rule book?"
A lot of flags up there of many different messages.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they just want to be left alone.
To mean? I don't know if I saw a lot of flags.
I mean, I guess we did at that flea market we went to.
Yeah, you're thinking of going to a flea market and like a stand that sells flags. And of course, like anyone that wants a flag in their home, that isn't going to be like an American flag or maybe another country's flag that they're from, or maybe something like a pride flag. It's going to be a bad flag. It's going to be something
I
that
don't have any good flags these days.
It's going to be something that people really want to project as who they are. Although I will note, didn't see any Confederate flags for sale. Once again, probably because of those bank robbers. They all learned their lessons.
Yeah. Oh, we start celebrating these guys, they'll clean us out.
Yeah.
The bank vaults will be cleared out by the end of the week.
And how many banks could they possibly have up there? It's very so. You mentioned it's the second least populous state.
Yes.
What's the most least? Rhode Island?
No, I want to say like Wyoming, maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, or maybe Wyoming. I know Wyoming has like.
Oh, were you gonna say that, Tom? Is that something you were gonna say?
I was gonna say I know Wyoming has like the least people per square mile.
Right.
Because it's a pretty big state, but not many people live in it.
Most of it's gorgeous.
No, Tim, most of it isn't that gorgeous at all. A lot of it is just very flat.
No. Like a gorge. There are many gorges.
Many gorgeous women? I haven't heard that about.
No. Not nobody's ever heard that about Wyoming. No.
Least populous state. Let's see what it is. No, I don't want the ranking. Just show me number one. God damn it. Number one, indeed, Wyoming, by a hair.
Well done, Wyoming.
So Wyoming has 581,000 people. And Vermont, as of last count, has 623,000 people. And now, Tim, we live in a city of 8.1 million people, and we live in a borough of 2.6 million people.
Yeah.
So our borough,
we're on top of each other.
Our borough alone has, over 4 times as many people, or about 4 times as many people, I guess.
Yeah. Take that, Vermont.
And yeah, we all
idiots.
Take that, Vermont. Why don't you try living on top of each other all the time?
Yeah, why don't you try being crowded and anxious and pissed off your whole life, every minute?
Yeah, and why don't you try getting rid of all the nature and wildlife and all that stuff and replace it with cement? Then talk to us.
Smells.
And smells.
And rats.
Yeah, instead of having nice smells, how about bad smells all the time? Tim, they do have a weasel that's native to Vermont called the marten.
Okay.
It is a slender cat-like weasel, and it's native to Vermont. So they maybe don't have the rats we've had, but they've got these little martens running around.
What's a weasel like? I only know them from cartoons, and they don't see and rhymes, I guess.
Yeah.
They go pop and whatnot.
Yeah, pop goes the weasel.
Yeah. Do they really do that in real life, though?
Do they go pop in real life? I forget what happened to that weasel that made it go pop. Did they squeeze it too hard or something?
The monkey was chasing it, I think.
The merry-go-round and the something chased the weasel.
The monkey.
A monkey chases the weasel. Pop goes. Yeah, I don't know what happens during that part. They mumble over it. I think we're gonna get a bunch of big nursery rhyme heads writing into us about how it goes.
My question being, my point of all this is, if I see a weasel, I don't approach, right?
No, stay away
walk
from that.
The other way. I pretend like I've never seen this weasel.
Yeah, I imagine they're pretty skittish of people, but yeah, I mean, pretty much any wild animal, leave it alone.
Not all of them. Sometimes you can pet them.
Like which ones? Name a wild animal that you're encouraged to pet if you see it.
A bear, but a baby bear.
No, Tim.
You ever see a baby bear? Go, like, its claws aren't all that formed.
Yeah, if you ever see a baby bear, its mom probably isn't around, and probably, even if she was, probably wouldn't be mad to see you petting her baby.
She'd come back and be like, "Oh, thanks for taking care of my baby while I was gone. I had to go
steal a picnic basket." But yeah, very sparsely populated, Tim. Also very full of old people. A lot of old people in Vermont.
Yeah, that's cool.
And
I don't think old people get enough respect. But only like Vermont old people who like don't have atrocious views.
well, I was gonna say, like, I forgot that Vermont has so many old people that Bernie Sanders is the young senator from Vermont.
All right.
And Patrick Leahy is actually I don't know if he's technically the oldest senator, but he's been there. He's been in Congress longer than anyone at this point.
Patrick Leahy seems like a good guy, but do you want to hear my impression of him?
Sure. Yeah, it's so kind of like Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah. A good guy, though. From what I understand.
Yeah, so he's apparently the only person that's been there since the Ford administration that's still left. Do you want to hear
another great man?
There are 3, but I was looking up famous people from Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
There are 5 famous people from Vermont.
Are 4 of them the members of Fish?
Not including Fish. Fish is also from Vermont.
How many members of Fish can you name off the top of your head?
I used to know the lead singer's name, and now I don't. Trey Anastasio.
Okay, yeah. And I'll accept first names for any of the rest of them for bonus points.
Trey. Bob?
No.
Billy.
You would think there might be there's a John Fishman plays the drums.
And is his real name Fishman?
Yeah. He's not actually a fish man, I don't think.
Right. But is that why the band's name is Fish?
He does need to be in a tank of water when he plays.
That must be very hard to
breathe
drum.
Through gills. Yeah. There's a guy named Page. I don't know his last name.
Okay.
And there's another guy. Just so you know.
And do you know the other guy's name isn't Bob then?
It might be. I don't know. Which is the guy that got beat up by the bikers?
Tim, you're asking the wrong person about fish stuff. But
okay, well, you go through the quote-unquote actual famous people from there.
Well,
Mike Gordon.
Oh,
is the bassist.
Yeah. That name I do know.
I would have accepted Mike or Gordon.
So Patrick Leahy, 2 of them on the list of famous people are Patrick Leahy and Bernie Sanders, which I feel like is kind of a...
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, anyone that's a senator is going to have some level of fame. That's like saying
sometimes you hear about a senator, like if you look at a list of senators, there's going to be some names where you're like, man, there's only 100 of these guys and I've never heard of this one.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I mean, I don't doubt it, but that would go even further to my point that not all senators are famous. They're just famous because they're senators.
A lot of them are famous because they're good hockey players.
The senators?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. The Washington Senators.
Right. What are we talking about?
Tim, you're gonna be glad when you hear who the number 1 most famous person in my mind is. The other 2, Ben and Jerry from ice cream.
Oh yeah.
But again, it's like they're famous because they have an ice cream company that's very famous that's named after them.
And also, like, what's Ben's last name?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure some
Nobody
Ben and Jerry
knows.
heads know.
No.
I'm sure Jerry knows. He probably has to sign contracts with them all the time.
They're all dead. They ate themselves. They gorged themselves on ice cream and died.
But, they're famous because they named it. I don't know who came up with Turkey Hill ice cream because they didn't call it, John's ice cream or whatever.
Oh, well, it was John Turkey, so
John
he lived on top of a big hill.
It was John Turkey in quotes Hill. Turkey was his nickname.
Yeah.
Tim, in my mind,
so many strikes.
In my mind, the most famous person from Vermont, and surprising, is a person you would never guess was from Vermont, Luis Guzman.
Wow, really?
The actor. Yeah, a Vermont man.
A great man.
Or I don't know if he still lives there anymore, but apparently he is originally from Vermont.
Wow, where in Vermont? Burlington?
I mean, who knows and who cares?
What?
Because here's the other thing, Tim. There's no, like, cities in Vermont, really.
Tom.
There's no metropolitan areas.
This is Luis Guzman was born in Puerto Rico and was raised in Greenwich Village in New York City.
Well, maybe he lives in Vermont now and he's considered a famous Vermontian.
What the Tom? Now I'm questioning all the research you claim to have done. Okay, he lives in Cabot, Vermont now.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry that I claimed he was born and raised in Vermont, but he lives there now. But again, that goes to show you how easy it is to just be a famous person from Vermont. You just got to move there.
Yeah, hey, Tom, you and I mean, just by dint of, like, doing this thing, like, we'd be, like, in, like, the top 100 there.
Yeah, they're going to add us to the list for sure.
Hey, let's do it. Let's move to Vermont.
Does it say there that does Luis Guzman live in Vermont full time, or is it like he just has a house up there? He likes it.
Personal life section of Wikipedia just says Guzman resides in Cabot, Vermont, and it doesn't mention any other. Yeah.
Well, there you
go. I
go.
imagine sometimes, Tom, he's on film sets for weeks or months at a time.
Yeah, but I was thinking more of a like, oh, is this guy actually live in New York or L.A., but he's got like a cabin in Vermont he likes to escape to.
Yeah. No, it doesn't seem like it.
But,
it'd
well,
be cool.
then good for him.
How big is Cabot, Vermont, right? Like,
well, that's what I'm telling you, Tim.
Why don't we go up there and, like, hang out there? We could become friends with Luis Guzman.
There are no major urban areas in Vermont. So wherever
what about
he lives.
Burlington?
Not even Burlington. Like, there's, I'm trying to think. I thought I had some of these numbers, but I don't. But there's like the most populous city. Oh, yeah, here it is. Vermont has only 9 incorporated cities, and only 3 of them have a population of more than 10,000.
Right. Okay.
So
there was a lot of numbers you threw at me, but yeah. Tom, how many people do you think live in Luis Guzman's town of Cabot, Vermont? I'm
going to guess 700 people.
Oh, no, it's double that. It's 1,400 people.
Okay.
But still, you move up there for 2 weeks, you're going to run into him at the bakery.
No, but here's the thing, Tim. You're not going to run into him because there aren't places to run into people there.
What about the Cabot Creamery, Tom?
You think Luis Guzman's going to the Cabot Creamery? How often is he there? How often?
He might work there.
Tim, he doesn't have to work there. He's a famous actor. How often do you think this guy needs to go buy cream?
That's what there's also cheese. They're very well known for their cheddar cheese.
He's a Hollywood big shot, Tim. The companies around the world are probably begging to send him cream.
Yeah, but I think he probably lives there. Why would you move to Cabot if not for the Cabot Creamery cheddar cheese?
Oh, it's the Cabot I know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Huh. Yeah, that must be why you moved there.
Hey, Tom, what are you eating right now?
Tim, I'm eating a delicious slice of Cabot Vermont Seriously Sharp Cheddar.
Yeah, you were acting like Cabot Creamery cheese is a nothing, and then we hit pause. We took a break, and then you were like, "Wait a minute, I have Cabot cheese."
Yeah,
and you ran out of the room and got it.
This whole
you're
time,
just eating on mic.
This whole time, I thought you were saying cabinet cheese.
Cabinet cheese?
Yeah, that like Luis
shelf
Guzman.
Stable, you can keep in a.
God, can you imagine? That would be great. This whole time I thought you were saying Luis Guzman moved to Cabinet, Vermont. Then he moved,
love of cabinets.
He moved to a cabinet in Vermont. But
man, I like Luis Guzman. Tom, favorite Luis Guzman movie?
Oh, I don't know. He's one of those guys that like he's in so many movies I can't even off the top of my head think of a movie.
Can't think of one.
No.
Punch Drunk Love.
Okay.
That's my. I don't know if that's my favorite.
Really remember
Luis Guzman performance, but it's one of the best movies, Tom. It's
I
not the best
haven't
movie?
seen it in a long time, so I can't comment.
Well, you should see it. I can come over. We'll watch it.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great. Bring over your CD or DVD. Please bring a CD. I don't want to just listen to the soundtrack.
Joke's on you, a-hole. I do have it on DVD.
Tim, did you know that Vermont is French for Green Mountain?
I did see some green mountains there, Tom.
Not only that, Tim, did you not notice that in the mansion we were staying in? Yeah, we were staying in a mansion.
Yeah, we were staying in a scary old mansion where an actual murder happened not that long ago.
The weekend prior to us renting it, somebody was murdered. And scrawled in blood on the wall was, "Don't rent this place." There was a lot of Green Mountain coffee in the Keurig.
Tom, all of these brands that we know and love, they're actual we got Cabot, we got Green Mountain, we got Burlington Coat Factory.
Yeah, Ben and Jerry's, Fish.
Who would have thought that Vermont is the stealth capitalism capital of the United States?
Yeah, they're really punching above their weight
with all their brands and all.
Mm-hmm. Tim, not only that, they've got their own cryptid, their own scare. They have two, actually.
What do you mean, like a mythical beast?
Yeah, they got two mythical beasts running wild out there.
Okay.
They've got Champy in Lake Champlain.
Champy?
Yeah.
That's a pale imitation of the Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah,
Nessie, right?
It's basically like, hey, we got a big lake too. Oh, I think I saw something out there.
Yeah.
Nice
Champy's
try.
a pretty good name, though.
Yeah. But then they've got another one, which I do like a lot because it's not like some of these cryptids where you hear about them and you're like, oh, that could exist. That could be like a weird thing that, maybe a species that hasn't been discovered. Like people think, for example, Bigfoot, Bigfoot might be some ape that we just aren't aware of. That we didn't know about mountain gorillas until somewhat recently.
On Bigfoot every week, you somehow go back to
it's a very
is what people
famous
think about
cryptid.
Bigfoot.
And people.
I know, but we're talking about Vermont.
Well, I'm going to get to the Vermont cryptid,
and then somehow you're talking about Bigfoot. Well, who might like to eat beans? Bigfoot might like to eat beans.
Bigfoot would probably love
what I'm saying is you always try to relate the topic to Bigfoot in some tenuous way every week.
What do you think Bigfoot's favorite bean would be?
Kidney beans.
Yeah, I'm thinking baked beans.
Maybe baked beans. But how would he get his hands on baked beans?
Because somebody's cooking them over a fire, and they're like, can't wait to have these baked beans. And then they go,
You're absolutely right, Tom.
And they run off.
See, this is why you're the Bigfoot. You've given a lot more thought to You've put in your 10,000 hours of Bigfoot research and thinking and philosophizing.
Right. You got to think about the kinds of beans he has access to. But this is not like, and same thing with Loch Ness Monster, the crazy theory that people have always had about that is like, oh, it's a dinosaur that somehow got stuck in there. I mean, obviously it's like, and then it, lived 100 million years. But the Vermont cryptid is neither of those. It is called the wampahoofus.
The wampahoofus?
The wampahoofus.
Well,
It is a variety of the side-hill gouger.
Side-hill gouger?
Yes. Tim, this is a creature.
The wrestler?
It sounds like it. You'll understand why it has that name in a moment. It is a creature that is looks like a mix between a deer and a pig. And it's got 4 legs, I believe, but 2 of the legs on one side are longer than the others in such a manner.
On one side, not the front and the back? Okay.
Exactly. So it can only run straight on hills and only in one direction. It can't turn around.
Oh yeah, it can't go back, so it has to go all the way around the hill.
Yeah. And that's why it's
like
called
if you
a
try
side
to get somewhere
hill.
only making right turns.
Yeah.
Like an old lady.
Well, and some people claim that I forget which is which, but that like the males run clockwise and the females run counterclockwise.
Oh, well, that way they can meet. And
Yeah, but
mate.
yeah, but then it's like, well, then that's how they would meet, but how would their genitals get together that way?
They'd get all entangled while rolling down the hill.
But that's why it's called a side hill gouger, because you find it on the side of hills, which in Vermont, you're going to find a lot of those.
I thought you were going to explain the gouging part.
I guess the gouging is just that it, I don't know, digs its hoofs into the hill, maybe?
Oh.
Something like that.
So this doesn't sound like a dangerous beast.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a dangerous animal. I think it's probably scary looking. You wouldn't want to run into it on the side of a hill.
Yeah, but
although
I'd pet
if
it
you can just
nonetheless.
run past it, then it can't turn around to get you. It's
Exactly.
You wait right there. I got to run all the way around this hill. And I'm gonna come get
It'd
you.
be the perfect beast to run up and pull his tail, and he can't do anything about it. You can
Can't
just
do
sit there,
shit.
and keep pulling his tail and taunting him.
Yeah, but you would think if
It's always
this,
good to pull animals' tails.
if this, yeah, what animals out there? So you said there's some animals that they say you should pet, and you think there are some that you should pull their tail.
That you could pull their tails.
I mean, you can
Side
pull
mountain
any
gouger.
animal's tail. It's just whether or not they're going to be happy about that. But yeah, side hill
And this
gouger.
gouger might not.
Well, side hill gouger. If you're behind it, there's really not too much it can do about it. So I think you're fine.
Yeah.
A weird thing is, while we're talking about Vermont animals, these martens that are up there, these weasel-like animals.
Mm-hmm.
It says, once extinct, martens have been successfully reintroduced. The hell does that mean? If it was extinct, then they were all gone.
You ever see Jurassic Park, Tom?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm wondering. Is this some kind of Jurassic Park situation? Because you got to be careful with those situations.
Do you have a regular Hammond up there?
Yeah, who's up there crossbreeding
InGen?
a bunch of different weasels trying to make martens. I'm guessing it was either endangered, not extinct, or it was extinct from the area and they reintroduced some.
Right.
Tim,
Well, please get back to me. We'll do an update next week about exactly what's going on with those.
I mentioned earlier about how Patrick Leahy and Bernie Sanders are both Sanders there, and Leahy's not only the longest current serving senator, he's historically the longest serving member of not just Senate, member of Congress.
Yeah.
Which
He's
is
old.
And Vermont, as you mentioned, very progressive state. It was the first state to grant women partial voting rights in 1880, the first state to abolish slavery as a republic and a slate, and the first to legislate same-sex marriage. However, the only state in the union that has never sent a woman to Congress. But again...
So they're all bad, it sounds like.
But again, you've got Patrick Leahy and Bernie Sanders, two guys who have been taking up seats for a long time, and they only have one congressional representative because they're so small.
Right. Exactly. Because they here's the thing.
Mhm.
Why do they get the same amount as Wyoming, presumably, right?
The
Like,
same amount
Wyoming
of
should get
Congress
zero.
or Senate?
Yeah. Because they have more.
Well, because I think
This is
you
the
can't.
thing. It should be
So you think
directly
Wyoming should have
proportional.
no representation?
Yeah, or Vermont should have 2,
Mhm.
and New York should have like 1,000.
Right. Well, I mean, now you're getting into the fact that this country is run by a minority of people, and
Maniacs,
and
let's
that
say.
and that's starting to cause a lot of problems where they're doing things that the majority of people in this country don't want done and don't agree with, and not doing things that the majority of the people want done. It's almost
Yes.
like these founding fathers who came up with all these rules a long time ago. And when they did, said, here's all these ways to change them, though, because who knows what things are going to be like in the future.
Maybe... but also some of those founding fathers were like, we don't really want, like, everybody to make these decisions.
Yeah, they were
we
like,
kind of want to keep this kind of an exclusive club if we can.
Here's some ways to change things, but don't change any of the stuff about women or black people. We'll make those parts real hard to change. But yeah, otherwise a very progressive state. I think it's just the fact that once people in Vermont, I don't know who their congressman is, but it seems like once people...
Peter Welch.
From RoboCop?
No, the grape juice guy.
Oh, the man who invented grape juice?
Yeah, Welch. This is a guy. He seems fine.
Oh, I'm thinking of Peter Weller. That was RoboCop.
No, I was thinking of the Welch's Corporation.
How long has Peter Welch been a congressman there?
Since January 3rd, 2007.
Oh, yeah. That's a pretty long time. 15 years almost. 15 years exactly.
Yeah.
When does what year does this episode go out?
Oh, yeah. No, we're banking this.
I know we've been batching a lot for years now.
We went away for my 40th birthday. When this comes out, I'm going to be in my 60s.
Your son will be 40. Like I was saying, there are no urban areas in Vermont at all. And it makes sense to go along with that. It is the only state with no buildings taller than 124 feet.
I have no sense of how high 124 feet is. This house that we stayed at this weekend, that was 124 feet high.
Was this the
tallest building?
No, I mean 124 feet. You figure each story is even on has
12
to be at least
basketball
10,
hoops. 12 basketball hoops.
Has to be at least 10 feet. Then a 12-story building is probably the tallest building, and I would imagine the building that is that tall it says no building taller than 124 feet. I guess that implies the tallest building is 124 feet.
Yeah. Probably like a Cabot Creamery or something.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if it's more of a industrial building, that it might not be a building. Nope. Tim, it is Decker Towers, 11 stories, and it's an apartment building in Burlington.
Told you, Burlington is a thriving metropolis, Tom. I don't know where you're getting your... Tom, it's where fish formed.
Is it Burlington? That's where they're all from?
Yeah, or it's where they got together.
Does everyone in Burlington live in this one decent-sized apartment complex?
I would think so. How else would you meet somebody? You said that there's no place to meet anybody in Vermont.
Well, unless you're
Tom,
hanging around the creamery.
Look, we didn't even stay at a thriving in a thriving town like Burlington or Cabot.
Yeah.
And we went to a flea market. We saw a bunch of people. We saw bikers with scary flags affixed to their motorcycles.
That's true.
If we had ventured into town, we also would have seen a duck race. They were racing rubber ducks.
Racing rubber ducks.
There was not one but two general stores. There were several. What were they called? Where you can buy the maple syrup. Maple something.
Maple syrupies.
Yeah. They're just like, hey, would you like a maple sucker? It's like, yeah, they don't taste good, but I'll take one. They have these. What a weird
Tim,
situation.
that was just a joke. They're like, would you like a maple sucker? And then when they give you one, they go, now you're a maple sucker.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say that part. That part was humiliating for me.
Because after you had licked it, they told you that it cost $500 and there were no returns.
We went to these maple places and they sell maple syrup, but then they sell everything else under the sun that they could somehow inject maple flavor into. So I bought some snack mix, which was basically just Chex Mix covered in maple syrup and dried out. You guys all got maple syrup ice cream.
Yeah.
And they put like, I don't know, maple syrup on peanuts and stuff. But like, imagine being like, look, I think this is cool, but I think it's also a little weird to be like, all right, today I wake up and my thing is to put maple syrup all over stuff and then sell them to dummies that come in here. And then there's big city rubes that come by and we're just like, whoa, yeah, I'll pay $6 for some Chex, for like a tiny little Ziploc bag full of Chex Mix that you dumped a bunch of maple syrup all over.
Well, look, Tim, not everybody's as attuned to the going price of Chex Mix and realizes how bad of a deal they're getting as you.
Tom, this is a comically small bag.
Some people may not have bought Chex Mix in 50 years. They may have no idea how much it costs. I think those people, though, they might laugh. They might say, look at all these idiots buying all this junk. They probably don't even realize we're just getting this shit out of trees for free.
Yeah.
We don't pay the trees. We don't even have to make the syrup. We just stick a little faucet in. Free sugar.
I mean, some people we were with engaged the maple syrup store people for a very long time, and like
too long in some
all
people's
about
opinions.
How many acres they had and like who owned the trees and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I guess was interesting, but really I was just like, I can't believe I paid so much for this Chex Mix.
Everywhere we went, though, there was also teenagers working that seemed like they did not want to be there.
Yeah. I mean, that's everywhere.
Yeah. No,
Teens
but I
don't
think
want
it
to be
was
at work.
I think it was more in Vermont, because I think in Vermont maybe there's so few teenagers that they're like, we got to put them all to work. And I just remember one of them giving us samples and a friend of ours asking like, oh, so the different shades of maple syrup and the different flavors, is that based on how the time of year that the maple syrup is tapped? And this teenager just looked at her slack mouth and just like subtly nodded like, yeah. Had absolutely no interest in engaging further.
Vermont, they don't want to engage with people? I don't know.
No, I think it was just this teenager was like, look, I don't want to work here. I don't want to answer questions about maple syrup. I go home fucking so sticky every night. I hate it.
What do you think Luis Guzman's day-to-day looks like?
Well, he probably gets up early, goes to the Cabot factory, sees if they've got any new techniques they're trying, any samples, any free samples.
Jaleel White actually lives in Cabot, too, and he goes to the creamery every day and says, got any cheese?
Yeah. I thought, Tim, you got me there. I thought he did live there, and I was like, all right, look, if both of them live there, then we've got to go visit, because
Imagine
there's a good
Luis
chance
Guzman
we will
and
run into
Jaleel
him.
White lived in the same tiny Vermont town.
Well, I'll tell you what, that town wouldn't be tiny for long.
Tom, what's your favorite fish song?
I don't know any fish. That real long one.
Which one?
You know.
You Enjoy Myself?
You Enjoy Myself? Do these songs have double meanings by any chance?
No, they're trippy, man.
Yeah.
They're psychedelic.
I don't like it.
What about Fee? Do you like the song Fee?
Feed?
Fee.
Feet?
Fee.
What's it about?
The cool shade of
I don't like songs with
tree.
made up words either.
What do you mean?
I don't.
Fee?
Yeah. Oh, like a fee? Like a bank fee? Like an ATM fee? Is that what it's about?
Yeah, but it's also somebody. It's somebody's name.
Oh.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. All right, Tim. Is it time to talk about how this house was haunted?
Yeah, let's talk about that now that we've got our favorite fish songs out of the way.
So this house, how old was it? It was like 150 years old, about?
You know what? I went this whole weekend. I wanted to go away for the weekend for my birthday.
Yeah.
And drink beers and eat food and hang out with my friends. Everybody the whole time was just doing research into the house, and I wasn't paying attention to any of it.
Not everybody was doing research into the house the whole time. But it was a 150-year-old house, at a certain point it's somewhat recent. It was like an old family house that had been passed down generation after generation. At a certain point, it had been a bed and breakfast, not a bread and breakfast. It just seemed it was full of weird things. You found a list of dead people.
Tom, hold on, hold the
Okay.
phone. I looked up the lyrics. Fee is the name of a weasel
Oh, okay.
in the song Fee.
Is it about? Is it
About a
marten?
weasel. I don't know.
Well, to find out if it's a marten because they're native to Vermont.
Yeah. All right. I'll do some more research while you talk about ghosts.
You found a list in the house of just like a bunch of people that lived in the house and when they died and where.
Yeah. But all the people died in like the 1870s and stuff.
Well, Tim, the old ghosts are the scariest sometimes.
Yeah.
But so of course it was just like a big old creepy house. It was in a rental, so a lot of locked doors of just shit they don't want you in.
Right.
But that
or they don't want you to know about.
Right. That just kind of added
Or that
to
nobody should know about.
just kind of adds to the creepiness. One of the locked doors was led up to like the widow's lookout up top, which was pretty shitty because it's like, oh, that's like the coolest thing in the house. You want to go up there, see what that view looks like.
That's like probably 124 feet up in the air, if you ask me.
It might be. Maybe that's why. Maybe, there's some kind of shenanigans going on there where it's like, well, maybe some rival tall building locked that door themselves. And they're like, well, nobody can get up there. So technically the building's not that tall. But a bunch of weird stuff. So, of course, people were curious and some people did Googling. I actually did not do any Googling, Tim. I like to do my research on the ground, which I'll get to. But found out that somebody was bludgeoned to death in the 80s there.
Right.
They think
the 1980s.
The
you have to say,
the 1980s. They think it was some kind of a like love triangle gone wrong type thing. But it was 4 men living there, and it was the 80s, so of course all that was like not talked about. Gay relationships. But somebody was killed.
Wait, was that, or was it a roommate situation?
That
wasn't necessarily.
That's what was.
They weren't in love with each other, were they?
That's what was unclear according to these reports. But it also sounds like
we were roommates at one point, Tom, and you almost beat me to death with a pipe over a girl.
But that's why, it's the 80s, and it's like, well, they're going to report it as roommates no matter what.
Right.
But who knows?
In Vermont, though?
I don't know. Look, Tim, I'm just telling you what I heard secondhand from some old newspaper clippings. Because there really wasn't, it might not have been what would you call it? Like a broken heart, a love gone wrong, a crime of passion. It might have just been this guy keeps leaving the fridge door open. And the other guy beat him to death with a pipe.
He ate my half pint of Ben & Jerry's that I was saving.
He ate my half pint of this new ice cream called Ben & Jerry's.
You wouldn't believe the chunks of goodies in the ice cream.
Yeah.
Either Ben or Jerry doesn't have a sense of taste and smell.
I have heard that. I learned about this new ice cream from the only moderately old senator, Bernie Sanders. But he killed him and dumped the body in New Hampshire. I was going to say for some reason, but I think it's like we weren't far from the New Hampshire border. It was just they happened to be in New Hampshire, dumped the body. A roommate helped them lift the body and get it there. Apparently there were maybe in the 90s or 2000s some paranormal investigators at the house.
Really?
Yeah, who saw floating candlesticks.
All right.
Which is pretty creepy. But what
so these people just came in and were just like, oh, we saw candlesticks floating, and they like put it in the newspaper?
I guess. The
What's
newspaper
going
was like,
on up
did you take pictures or video of it? No. All right. Well, we'll just put it in the paper. That way it's official. But importantly, they said they were benevolent spirits, that it wasn't bad guys.
Because there were a lot of children there. I wouldn't have wanted any of them to get possessed.
Oh, Tim, that's the last thing everybody there wanted were any possessed children.
Ruins a nice 40th birthday weekend if one of the children's there's a possession.
Because even if it's not your kid, you know, I don't have any children, so I wouldn't have had a child there possessed. But if like some kid's possessed, I'm gonna feel like should I be outside in the hot tub, or is that kind of weird right now? Because that child's possessed and everybody else is trying to deal with that.
But there's nothing you can do about it, right? That's
what I would
problem.
be saying. Look, there's really nothing I can do.
Yeah.
I may as well get out of everybody's way and go hang out in the hot tub for a little bit.
You're going to not enjoy yourself? You're in Vermont.
Yeah, I'm still in Vermont. It's a lovely night out. The hot tub is the perfect temperature.
I regret not taking advantage of that hot tub. I was too tired, Tom.
Only me and my girlfriend went in the hot tub. We were the only two hot tubbers.
Well, the other thing was, like, I kind of wanted to go in the hot tub.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to be, like, the third wheel in the hot tub, because you guys went in, like, late at night, and that's when they're, it's like, well, I'm not going to go in alone, but I'm not going to go in with Tom and his girlfriend at midnight.
We weren't, like, making out in the hot tub the whole time.
You were necking in the in the hot tub. Everybody said so.
Just a little bit, Tim, and it would have been fine if you wanted to. We would have told you. We would have asked you politely to close your eyes while we necked, but we weren't necking the whole time.
Yeah, well,
it was too hot.
Have. I would have declined.
Nobody went in the canoe either.
Yeah.
Oh no, one person brought a paddle board, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
So they
You guys went in kayaks. That was cool. You did it.
Yeah.
Got your butt all wet.
My
Look,
butt.
I didn't want to do anything. I told you.
My butt was. I don't think my butt's ever been wetter than sitting in that canoe.
I mean, it's a kayak. And have you ever been in a kayak before?
No, I think
Tom?
it was a canoe.
Your butt's gonna get wet.
What's the difference between a canoe and a kayak?
The shape.
And what's the shape?
Tom, we'll save this for the kayaks versus canoe episode that we're gonna do.
I'm pretty sure.
Did you see any ghosts?
So yeah, here's the thing, Tim. I was, not aside from the fact that it was like a weird old house, and like you assume weird old houses are haunted. I did not think it was more haunted than anybody else. And then the second day we were there, that morning after the first night, people were talking about the research they had done to find out about the hauntings, and I then thought it prudent to mention that I had what I assumed was a dream the night before, where I had turned over in bed and looked at my girlfriend and saw a hand come out from under the bed and grab her chest. And now I don't know if it was one of those things where I think I was like half asleep, like half dreaming.
You got yourself all worked up, Tom.
And then after I was like looking at her for a while, I was like, what am I looking at? It was like her own hand on her chest. But then her hand wasn't on her chest. So I don't know. Again, I think it was a dream, but it could still be a ghost-induced dream.
What about just a regular dream? Could have been just like...
It absolutely could have just been a regular dream. But I think after hearing that there was a murder, at least one murder in the house, it's interesting.
Watching a Nightmare on Elm Street and then going to bed and having a nightmare and be like, I had a Freddy Krueger-induced dream. It's like, no, you got yourself all worked up over a thing.
I wasn't worked up because I hadn't heard that there was a murder in the house yet.
You assumed. We were talking about how many
murders.
I mean,
we assumed. No, and I fully look, I don't think it was a real thing. I think it was just a dream I had, like you said, because we had been talking about it. But I still thought it important to share. And then nothing, I mean, that was nothing. That was a dream. But nothing else weird happened the rest of it. Except all the children got sick.
One guy we were with, kids got sick. One guy we were with got murdered by a ghost. the last night, but other than that,
yeah,
uneventful.
He was in the hot tub, and the cover of the hot tub got somehow mysteriously put back on and locked, and the hot tub got turned up to 185 degrees. But that could have happened by accident.
Yeah. I think it was paranormal, though.
Tim, what's your review of Vermont out of 10 stars?
Tom? Ooh, well, all right, I'll give this ranking.
Mm-hmm.
I give it 7 out of 10 stars. And on my ranking of the 50 states, it comes in at number 2.
Number 2? Second of what state?
Tom, we'll have to wait for... We're going to do an episode on all 50 states, and my rankings will become clear. What about you? How many stars out of 10?
So it's 7 out of 10, and that gets it the number 2 slot. So you don't have a
number 2.
You don't have a very high view of many states.
You don't know that. Sometimes, they don't necessarily correspond.
What do you mean they don't necessarily? They should.
A state could get more stars, but be lower ranked.
What? How? That's not how ranking and reviews work.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what my stars are based on. You don't know if am I judging the cuisine? Am I judging the weather? Right?
Yeah.
And then the ranking is, everything altogether.
We didn't really have too much Vermont cuisine. I had a couple of boiled hot dogs from a hot dog stand. That was about it.
Yeah.
And the syrup.
Those maple stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? How many stars and what's your ranking?
I would give it 8 stars out of 10. I really liked it there. It's very beautiful and peaceful. Ranking on the states. I'm going to say maybe state number 6.
Whoa. Man, you don't like progressive values, I guess.
I guess.
All right.
I guess that's what it is. Tim, I just wish if they were so progressive, they would send a woman to Congress and somebody under the age of 80. If you like the show, you can find out more at tcgt.com. You can follow us on Instagram.
You heard it here first, folks. Tom doesn't think Bernie Sanders should be a senator.
Instagram.com/tcgte. Follow us on Twitter @Complete Guide. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Complete Guide. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter @Tom Reynolds.
Follow me at your pal Tim.
I fixed all the links on our website, and we got links there to our Reddit, our Discord, and our Patreon. Patreon.com/Complete Guide, where you can get books to podcast. This week we have episode number 2 of 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke. Tim's reading it. I'm hearing about it.
It's good. Tom,
Arthur
spoiler
Clarke.
This book is good. I'm enjoying reading it.
Hey,
Tom, when do I ever like sci-fi stuff? Rarely.
When do you ever like reading a book?
I don't know how.
Unless it's a good book.
It's too hard for me, so I don't like it.
Patreon.com/Complete Guide. You can get that new episode and all the back episodes. There's also a tier for early episodes and commercial free, ad free. Patreon.com/Complete Guide. Yeah, I would. It was kind of a far drive. That knocks it a few points off. But I guess it wouldn't be a far drive if I lived in Vermont.
Exactly. If you lived down the street from Luis Guzman.
My thing about Vermont, like a reason why I would probably never live there, is that a lot of the year it's snowing there, and it seems like once it's snowing, you are stuck wherever you are.
Yeah, but you can ski. You hit the slopes.
You could hit the slopes. A lot of skiing in Vermont. I've never been skiing, though, so it's not of any interest to me.
I've been skiing, and I was not good at it, and I didn't like it. Actually, you know what? I'm changing my ranking. Vermont is now number 16 on my state ranking list.
Wow, a devastating recalculation based on Tim
I forgot that I
not
don't like
liking skiing.
Yeah. All right. Well, next week we'll be on to the next state.
Probably not. We'll probably do something else, but who knows? Maybe.
We'll do beans.
Beans
We'll talk about
number
beans
2.
next week.
All right. We'll see you next week.
There's a new Mr. Bean thing, Tom.
Are we still on
It's
the
gonna be
air?
on Netflix. All right. Sorry. See you next week.